hoping that you're going to be charming and funny, and then I'm going to easily have things to relate. But I always wonder, like, are you the one showing up?
My name is Christine. Welcome to another episode of the Work Break podcast. You know, dating can be scary, but it doesn't have to be with this next guest. I'll allow her to introduce herself.
I am Jolene. For your audience, I'm a matchmaker and dating coach in San Diego. I grew up in San Diego and have been doing this work for the past 17 years. Nice. I just fell in love with dating and romance and relationships, and was a little boy crazy when I was young.
Same.
So I fell into the work and then became obsessed with it. You know, I just really felt aligned with this kind of mission, and it's evolved over the years. And so now I'm just trying to help people, help singles build healthy romantic relationships, starting with the first date.
First $1,000,000 question. How did you become a dating coach? What led you to here?
So 2007, I was in my early 20s and in need of a job. So I stumbled across a matchmaking service nationwide, and I thought, oh, you know, this is really cool. Like, what a different job. And it was a sales job. It was selling people to join the dating service. And I wasn't particularly great at sales, you know, and so eventually the owner started kind of developing me for my skill set beyond just selling. And so I started listening to unhappy clients, people that weren't having a good time. There's a gap that needed to be bridged that was like why people would end up in a relationship and why they wouldn't. And what was that? And so after listening to so many unhappy clients, I realized that there needed to be two things. You needed opportunity, so you needed dates, but you also needed training. You needed to know how to date. No one teaches you how to date when you're in high school, right? And so, yet that's when we're falling in love. Right? So that's when we're choosing our partners. And so, you know, we figure it out and we let it unfold naturally, and we leave a lot of it to chance. And what I realized is we didn't have to leave everything to chance.
Very much would have appreciated having a dating course in high school. That would have had me like ready for love. I really do think that there should be like a relationship course early on, because every day, you know, we interact with people and make those connections. So
there should be.
Valentine's Day is coming up. Hence the roses. What are some creative ways people can celebrate Valentine's Day, whether they're single or in a relationship?
So I want to tell you the definition of romance that really speaks to me. Quality or feeling of mystery and excitement, a remoteness from everyday life.
Ooh.
So that definition of romance, I look at something like Valentine's Day, right? And I think, okay, all we have to do, it doesn't have to be with a romantic partner. You can create an experience for anyone in your life. If I ask people who has created something truly special for you, most people can't come up with anything in a lifetime, you know, or they might say, oh, someone threw me a surprise party and that was really amazing, right? Surprise parties are pretty easy to throw.
Yeah.
Right? They're not really that thoughtful. It's not like I got to know you so well and I wanted to create an experience that was just for you. So for Valentine's Day, I feel like pick someone that needs it. Could be your grandma, could be your parent, could be your niece, right? You could go surprise your niece at school with candy hearts on Valentine's Day. You could, there's so many different ways to take that holiday, create a romantic experience for someone, something remote from everyday life, right? Just sit down and interview them. You know, say, hey, I know what we could do. What are you doing for Valentine's Day? If they're like, nothing, well, let me take you to lunch. I really want to hear some of your stories.
You might have heard Bumble, Tinder, Hinge. What are your thoughts on dating apps?
So I love dating apps. I coach a lot of people on how to use them. I think they're incredible. I think people just don't have a good strategy around them typically.
Yeah.
I met my boyfriend on a dating app. I encourage everybody to do it unless it is more detrimental to their self-esteem. At that stage, if someone is feeling too much rejection and it's not really working, then I don't think it's the app. I don't think it's for them. There's other ways.
Right.
Yeah, but overall, I think it's fantastic.
That is so good. That is giving me some hope because I feel like it could be daunting and intimidating getting on dating apps. So it's good to hear that coming from like a relationship and dating coach that it is something that should be embraced, unless it is, of course, taking away from like your mental health, and that's like where you draw the line.
Yeah, you just need a good strategy because it's a little overwhelming, and so you just need to pare it down, and but someone needs to teach you how. Because it's too emotional, and so people go, all right, I'm going to go on, and then they go on, and then they swipe like crazy sitting in the airport, and then they never follow through, and then it becomes this chore. And so if you don't treat it like that, if you just have a strategy behind it, they're really effective.
Wow.
60% of couples are meeting online, so it would be silly to not use that avenue.
Having the ability to go on your phone, on an app, on a website, and say, maybe I could find the love of my life on there was not something that was available already 50, 60 years ago. So
Right.
Love is Blind, The Bachelor, Too Hot to Handle. Jolene, what are your thoughts on dating shows?
So I love dating shows as well. I will say I don't watch a lot of them. Love on the Spectrum, I watched one and I was like, this is incredible work, right? So there are, I think they all are good. When The Bachelor did The Golden Bachelor, I thought that was incredible for men and women over 60, just so that they feel like, okay, I still got it. I can still be out there and still date and connect. And so that was really amazing. I think anyone who's single and getting into the journey of being single and the journey of dating should watch all of them and kind of understand what the culture is all about. I don't watch them, but it's only because I do it all day long.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. Separating work from home. And I love Love on the Spectrum. That's like one of my favorite shows.
And I did create a docuseries, a documentary. So there's a lot of reality TV and there's a lot of date coaching, but what there isn't is just a documentary on dating. And so I created Dating Explained, the documentary, or the docuseries, sorry, and I've had so much fun with it, so that is a way to show people's real stories, what they're going through, and their experience with dating.
It's inspiring seeing stories and real people that have, their testimonials about dating and love and relationships. It's inspiring, especially if you're single, trying to see, examples of love and how it impacts, your life. So do you remember what your first job was?
I grew up in a family that didn't have a lot of money. So everybody was expected to work. You just got a job. That's what you did. And so from a very young age, I started babysitting at around 10, 11 years old. And I babysat for this couple that were what's called diamonds in Amway. And so they were in leadership. And so at the age of 15, I remember being in a huge ballroom, huge conference. It felt huge. It felt like thousands of people who were there. And listening to the speaker. And so it was my first time listening to a motivational speaker and listening to an opportunity talk. And I became obsessed with motivation, so that kind of started me along that path.
Wow, at such an early age too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's amazing. And now you become that motivational speaker too, which is crazy. So,
I know. It was amazing. It was life-changing, yeah.
How would you describe your job as a dating coach, relationship coach, motivational speaker? How do you describe it in 3 words?
So my work in 3 words, flexible. This work has allowed me to kind of create a life that works for me outside of a personal life, right? So I was able to be there when my daughter was young and work. And I was able to go pick her up from school and take her to doctor's appointments. And so it really allowed me a lot of flexibility, which is huge. It gave me connectivity. You're so connected in this work. People are in the first 7 minutes of a conversation with a complete stranger, someone you've never spoken with before, are telling you their deepest secrets and their biggest fears and insecurities. And so that is like, if you crave connection in the world, it's an amazing way to get it. The last word, impact, right? You don't realize it because you are getting paid for the work, but you are impacting someone's entire life, every conversation you have in a positive way. And so it's pretty amazing on a pretty big scale.
Quick question. How do you tailor your advice to fit different clients with unique personalities and goals?
Typically, there'll be about 5 concepts that I find myself consistently teaching over and over and over again. One is mindset and attitude. I'm constantly helping people develop a mindset that is, you're meeting new people. Then if you feel compelled to get to know them, you're going to go on a series of adventures.
Right.
And then through getting to know them, you're going to mutually decide if you guys are going to start dating. I think it removes the pressure and allows you just to really experience the person that you have a connection with, instead of feeling that by meeting someone new, you're already dating. Because then it's harder to say, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
Another concept that I teach a lot is how to build intimacy slowly. How to get really creative and thoughtful with your dates, using all of the, scientifically proven strategies that we know that people have been successful in keeping their relationships together for decades, how to translate that into the first couple handfuls of dates. Conversation. I role play all of the time. So a lot of people feel like they are, if they're a good talker, that they're a great conversationalist, and not necessarily.
Yeah.
Right? So this is probably 90% of the people I work with, have okay conversation skills. But everybody could take a step up, storytelling, the art of storytelling, the art of listening, the art of asking great questions that you really want to know the answer to, how to navigate the hard questions that you don't want to answer with someone new, all while being authentic, right? I don't teach confidence as much. I feel like by the time the singles get to me for help in dating, they do have a certain level of confidence. But I teach validation a lot, going, you're in the right path. You do know how to do this.
Wow, that's
right?
powerful.
Yeah. So that seems to be something that people need to hear a lot of. They need to validate that they can do it, that it does exist out there. And so that's really rewarding. The last thing I teach is the mechanics of a good date. Really how to get comfortable, get grounded, get acclimated to your environment, to get present with someone, to really be able to engage, to have a strong greeting, to have a good closing. All of these things really, really matter in creating an experience for you and your partner.
That's so powerful. And I love that you're able to break it down into 5 different categories that can be applicable to so many different clients and people. So, Jolene, what are some common misconceptions people have about dating and relationships that you often need to address?
People have a misconception that the people that they like are the only people that are dateable. Alex, let me explain. Like a good example is, let's say that I set you up on a date. And you go out and you report back, wow, this guy was not for me. He was socially awkward. He didn't ask me anything. It's just a no, right? Okay, so then let's say that I've matched him and let's say he's been on 10 dates. The odds are that 5 of the women felt the same way, conversation was stunted, didn't really go anywhere. But the other 5 women said he was amazing. Conversation was great. He was so cute. I really liked him. And so a common misconception that people have is because you only know the experience of being single in your bubble. So when you realize that there's a lid for every pot, you start understanding that everybody's dateable, likable, lovable. It doesn't mean that if you don't want to see someone again, it's not that they're not dateable, it's that they're not your vibe or tribe or whatever. So we want to start to remove giving feedback like he's socially awkward or I didn't find, he was not attractive, or we want to start getting rid of these hard and fast, the date was terrible, horrible. We want to get rid of those words because that's what people in the modern dating world hear from their friends.
Right.
They hear about and it's and it's never that bad, right? I mean, not that there isn't some horror stories out there, but it's never typically that bad. And so if you kind of remind yourself, I'm just going to say, this person, we couldn't connect. The conversation didn't flow. Well, we had a different style. That's much better than saying he's socially awkward.
Right.
There's a difference in mindset about dating. And as soon as you stop labeling everything and everybody, it really opens your mind and makes dating a lot more enjoyable as well.
And I am guilty.
We all are.
Guilty as charged for doing that, and along with some of my friends.
We all are. I know.
I feel like that's a very respectful way of saying, not for me, but doesn't mean that they're not for somebody else.
As we say, there's a lid for every pot, and it's because it's true.
Wow.
Yeah. If you don't like someone, guarantee you if you're like, he's not cute, someone's like, he's so handsome. It's like you just see it back and forth.
Do you think that there's a perfect match for everyone, or do you think compatibility is built over time?
So this question is really tough, and I'm going to take the philosophical road on
Love
to answer it. Because everybody questions, like, does the one exist? Is there a perfect match? Destiny and Golden. It's just, I don't see many people there. The idea that we meet, marry, and die holding hands in our 90s is beautiful, and it's very rare. So what I typically see, right, is a lot of people having a lot of love experiences in their life, right? And so compatibility, so it's both. Yeah, you can have a perfect match. You can build something beautiful over time, and compatibility matters. But on a very fundamental level, I guess what I believe is, let's say the ultimate human value is freedom. So the question I always struggle with is, can you have freedom and commitment at the same time?
Ooh.
Right? Like, is that attainable? And then throw passion in there. And now you have, so now I have commitment that I have to dedicate, right, my entire being in life to this mission of growing old with someone for 7 decades, or 5 or 4 or 3 or good. And no one can even make it 7 years, let alone 7 decades. So that's a pretty big feat, right? And then you have, and it has to be spicy. And I am a human having my own experience on this earth, and that's important too, right? So how do you make all of those things work? So that is, I don't have the answer, by the way. But that's what I grapple with this soulmate versus like formula. And so I kind of think if people tell you there is a formula, I don't necessarily believe them, because so I measure relationships based on the health. Is it healthy? Is it happy? And then knowing that, relationships do end maybe because you lose someone, or one or both parties wants to go live a different life. And so how do you value that experience when you're in it? How do you treat people? How do you build something special and unattached from the outcome? And so I think it's really, really challenging. I was playing Super Mario Brothers last week on Nintendo with my boyfriend, and I was thinking, and so it was very interesting, and I was thinking about dating, how this related to dating. So the whole time, I haven't played in probably, I don't know, 35 years, right? So we're playing this game, and I keep dying, and I keep dying, and I keep dying, and I'm getting so frustrated, right? But he keeps winning. And when he wins, or when one person wins, it opens up the next level for player two. Right? So if he wins, I get to go to whatever next level is. I don't have to pass my own.
Right.
And so it made it less frustrating, right? But also what it reminded me in relationships is like sometimes, you get each other, right? Like he had us. He was getting us to the
next level.
and I got to come along on the ride, and there are levels, right? And it's like, and they're all different and risky and interesting, and so I think if you can kind of look at it as a video game and different lands and different adventures, and I know it's cliche, but I don't know, for me it really helped put in perspective being able to feel at peace and content, and also challenged and inspired by a dating relationship.
That makes perfect sense. Like sometimes you're not on your best game, quote unquote, and having a partner that's there to support you and take you to the next level when you're not feeling your best, or vice versa, that's solid.
Well, and as it relates to dating, it's when you're on a date and a first date, there's a lot of people that want to be entertained. And so they'll go showing up hoping that you're going to be charming and funny, and then I'm going to easily have things to relate. But I always wonder, like, are you the one showing up, right? Like, you want it, but are you doing it? Are you making someone feel comfortable? Are you entertaining them? Are you telling good stories? How much does that play into, again, you're co-creating this date.
Right.
It's like you're part of it, they're part of it. But you both have to create the chemistry together.
It's like, I need somebody who's funny, who's, charming, who's kind, who's good at storytelling. But again, if it's like those qualities are not reflected within yourself, it's like you're putting this person to such a high regard or like expectation that you can't even match.
There's this great quote that I love. It's, we often expect others to be a finished product while we allow ourselves the grace to evolve. And so in dating, you don't want to keep someone in a box. You don't need someone that's a perfect finished product. You just need to discover who. I do believe you need to feel a connection.
Right.
You're not going to feel a connection with everybody you meet. You're just not. And you can be okay with that. You're not too picky. It doesn't matter. Be selective is really important, right? Date people you're attracted to. You do not need to date, like, I would not date someone that I didn't find appealing in all senses, right? So definitely do that, but then discover who they are.
What's a good first date? What comes to mind for you?
So very quickly, just getting to a first date is a good first date, right? 100%. So many people don't even get to that. So just get to the date. Do something, I like movement. So like grabbing a coffee and going on a walk, great first date. A drink date is fine, but I might give different advice to different people. Like if someone comes to me and says that they quickly fall in love with everybody and they sleep with everybody really early on in their dating, then I'm probably going to say, okay, well then do a lunch date, do a coffee date, do something more platonic. Do an escape room. I don't know. Do something where you're not thinking about having sex with them. But then if someone is like only gives that friend vibe, right? I'm probably going to say, let's take a look at your style. Let's take a look at the way you're dating. Are you in a lounge with a good atmosphere? I might say, do a night date, right? So it just really depends on the energy that you're going to feel. But if you're online dating, just ask them, put in your profile how you want to date. Ooh. Like that's perfect. Together we could, do A, B, and C. Give them a lot of options.
Becoming a dating coach yourself, has that changed the way that you look at dating and approach dating in your own world?
It has changed every fiber of my being. So when I started in the business, right, I started as a matchmaker. I moved into date coaching, and then I decided to become really educated on all things performance, optimal performance, creating amazing relationships. psychology, just I wanted to learn everything. So I became trained in premarital counseling. I became trained in domestic violence counseling.
Wow.
I went back to school. I started from scratch. I started from community college and am finishing a PhD this year. So thank you. It became my life. I wrote a book. I am doing the Docuseries. I'm dedicating the next decade to researching how couples can get into flow together. If you don't know about flow theory, look it up. It is usually talked about in athletics, in music, in surgery, in work, in teams. And I hope to demonstrate it in the dating world of how to, feel a tremendous amount of flow in these dates.
Right.
So that you're able to articulate who you are. You're comfortable. You're in the zone. You're engaged. You're present. You're not self-conscious, right? And how to enhance those experiences, and then how to bring that to your romantic relationships, so you can always learn how to flow together for those times when you're really disconnected in your relationships.
Right.
You know how to get back on track.
Do you have any dating pet peeves that come to mind?
I do. So one of my dating pet peeves is people who say everybody says I look 10 years younger.
You do, though.
But I get that all the time, right? People say I look 10 years younger. People say I look 10 years younger. And I wish that people just felt awesome about how they look.
Right.
Because it plays into ageism. And then people don't date because they think they're too old, and they're not too old.
Right.
My 75-year-olds and 76-year-olds have a way better dating experience than most of my clients.
Trust me.
A way better love life going on.
It's not as good for the mid-20s right now, I'm telling you from personal experience, but yeah.
Another pet peeve is people that say they want quality over quantity. Typically, people say that, and I think it implies that people aren't quality if they're not on some, I don't know what it means. Everybody. So I like this idea that we're spreading everybody is dateable, everybody is likable, everybody is lovable, everybody is quality. It's more, who do I want to connect with? Who do I feel in connection with?
Just it's easy to look into your own personal experience and say this is how it's always going to be, but hearing somebody else say, no, you got this, or
Yeah, you got it. You're going to do great. I hope it works out. Let me know.
yeah, that actually reminds me of a friend of mine. Not going to say her name, but she was going through her quote unquote rough time with the apps, and she was just like, man, there's no person for me. And now she has been on so many dates. She's found literally the love of her life. And so it's very inspiring to see that and to show, like, yeah, you can go through so many different dates and go through so many pots or so many different people, and ultimately not be discouraged. Because if she had just given up and was just like not liking her dating experience or just frustrated, she would have never met her now future husband.
Right. It always feels like it's not working until it works.
Right.
Right. And so a good strategy around that is, when you're dating and you're meeting a lot of different people, start capturing the information alone. You don't have to do it with your girlfriends. I'm not saying don't download to people. I think it's helpful, but make sure it's helpful. Make sure it's a positive conversation. Download on either to your therapist or download yourself. You can get on your phone, press record, do a little video that's just for you, but do a little video diary. I just met, this guy, and this is how I felt, and this is what I didn't like, and then watch that it kind of loses its power if it went bad after that. You're not, then you start, kindness can come out, and he was really nice. And so kind of lead yourself through that. And I think you will also get to know yourself on a deeper level, and you'll start understanding where you fit in the dating world a lot quicker.
Why should someone hire a dating coach?
Accountability, right? So it's very, it keeps people from stopping, right? Stop, go, stop, go, stop, go. If they don't know, if they've never dated, they love, to go, what do I ask and what do I say, and so people love working with a coach. It's the same as hiring a personal trainer. You can definitely do this on your own, or you can choose to have someone to go through it with you. But dating is emotional, so it is kind of nice to have a coach that takes the emotion out of it for you and just goes, yeah, it sounds like you should give him a second date. Go. Like, it's very easy for me to just tell you to go on a second date or to not go on a second date.
Ooh.
Well, you might sit and ruminate on it for days without responding.
Right.
So I'll just be like, respond immediately. Just it's a no.
Right.
So
And if you were not a dating coach, what would you be?
so I have like a running joke. Every time I do have some challenging calls, right, with some challenging clients that are not super kind. And so, I always joke around if I get off the phone with a really challenging client and I just say, I'm quitting today. That was the day I'm quitting. This person, I'm ending my 17-year career over this one call, and I am becoming a flight attendant. I say it all the time.
I love that.
I'm like, and that's what I would go do.
I've always said that too with my friends. I'm like, should I be a flight attendant?
Totally.
I love flight attendants. I think that I have so much respect for what they do too.
Me too.
They talk with a lot of people. They have to stay alert. And I remember going to the bathroom and I talked to like the entire flight crew or the flight attendant crew, and they're like, you should just be a flight attendant right now. They showed me like how to apply. I might be there with you.
I do. I apply every once in a while. Like, it's so random and weird, but every once in a while I do, like, I'll submit on like a Delta Virgin Airlines, and like just see if I get an interview. So I'm always on the edge. I'm destined to be a romance novelist. That's where I think I'll end up.
What do you feel like is the most important lesson you've learned being a dating coach?
I would say humility.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is really made me a more kind human. And just it's very easy now to talk to someone and discover what's unique and special about that person rather than sit and judge.
So Jolene, where do you see your profession within the next 10 years? What does that look like?
Matchmaking, in my opinion, is only growing. Online dating is only growing. We're moving into more and more men and women in their 60s and 70s that are dating now. That population or demographic, is coming in and starting to date. And so they have a lot of time, desire, capacity to build relationships at this stage in life. So I think it's going to be a lot more of that age group. And then I think somewhat in the 20s, 30s, I imagine that they are going to go a little bit more old school.
We're going to do something a little bit different, and we're going to do a segment called This or That. So, Jolene, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Cue the music. So, Jolene, online dating or meeting in person?
Online dating.
First date, coffee shop, or dinner date?
First date, coffee shop.
Love at first sight or slow burn romance?
Slow burn romance.
Giving advice one-on-one or hosting workshops?
One-on-one.
Texting or phone calls for early communication?
Texting is fine.
Valentine's Day grand gesture or something low-key?
Ooh. Grand gesture.
Ooh.
Always.
Ooh, get the Jumbotron. Helping singles or guiding couples?
Helping singles.
Focusing on emotional connection or physical attraction?
Physical attraction.
Ooh. Matchmaking or coaching for self-improvement?
Matchmaking.
Casual dating or serious relationships?
Serious relationships.
Ding, ding, ding. You're a winner.
That was fun.
That was fun. Well, thank you so much, Jolene. Before I let you go, how can the people at home reach you?
You can go to my website, jolenebeaton.com. I have a 21-day challenge that you can take. It'll teach you everything about getting ready to date, online dating. I have a weekly coaching group where I give specific dating advice for people that are dating online, and you can hire me to manage your online profiles.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Jolene, for
Thank you.
joining me. Again, if you need to get in contact with Jolene, I will leave all of her links down below, and I'll leave her podcast, her docuseries, her book, everything down below, and we'll see you at the next episode. Bye-bye. Bye.